to the bottom of it with your host, Joshua Moriarty.
Hey, welcome back, gang, people. How you doing? Episode 42 of the bottom of it, and it's part 2 of my conversation with legendary music producer Nick Launay. Now, for those who missed part 1, whoever you are, you dastardly bastards out there, Nick has been making records since the beginning of the 80s, made seminal albums with INXS, Midnight Oil. He's worked with Kate Bush, Phil Collins, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. The list goes on. And I just want to get straight back into it today. I don't want to hold you up too much of a ramble. I feel like you've probably listened to part 1, so you already know what's going. So here we go, folks. Nick Launay, part 2. Enjoy. So you are optimistic in general. This is your kind of your overall outlook in life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Very much so.
Even with the music industry changing and everything, like we've sort of been
You know what?
discussing.
It is the current state of the music industry is, I suppose, fucked with very big capital letters and lots of exclamation marks after it. It's changed so much in the last 15 years in particular, and it's a mess. It's very, very easy to get depressed about it. It's very, very easy to give up. And a lot of my peers, a lot of record producers, great record producers I know, have given up. They've just gone, I'm not doing this anymore. It's just not worth it. Because ultimately it's all to do with the finances. It's all money. It's all to do with the money. But these records cost money to make. And when there is no money to make the records, you can't make them. And it's really hard work to make them with small budgets. And that's what's frustrating. And, when you think about a company like Apple, okay, I mean, billions and billions of dollars, right? They've got all the money in the world, right? All the money. They have, their own radio station. They have all this stuff. They have iTunes, and they make money out of music, don't they?
Absolutely.
Now,
they have been for
how
a long
many
time.
How many records have they funded the making of?
I can't imagine it's a lot.
I would say it's, as far as I'm aware, it's none.
Yeah.
Now, I'm gladly would love to be corrected on that.
Well,
but it's certainly they do not have a record label where they
Jimmy
fund
Iovine
artists.
was doing something with them, and it fell very flat very quickly. And a few bands
and I know,
started
and
to
I
do
know a
things,
little
and then
bit about that.
That was it.
From secondhand information.
Yeah.
But
there should be,
but think about that.
They should have a record label, and
if you just take that on board, that probably the biggest money making company in the world.
Spotify, are they paying for records as well?
Apple. You think about it. They're starting with the iPod,
with the iPod,
and then their iPhones, and everything that they do has been more or less around people listening to music. So why can't they put the money back into it? Why don't they? What on earth are they? I don't get it. Now then you got the Spotifys of this world, who are just these, as far as I can work out, clever business people who have worked out to take something that was completely illegal and make it legal. And they've just put all the money in their pockets. And they keep saying, oh yeah, well, we are giving it back to blah, blah, blah. Do you know how many musicians out there, songwriters, who keep posting, you see it, how much money they made from this multi-millionly downloaded song of theirs? It's a joke. It's a joke. And
hey, I'm with you.
And I don't actually care. I don't mind. I'm not bitter about that. But if people out there want to know the actual effect of this, is I can tell you firsthand from my experience that it's made people make less music.
Yeah.
That's ultimately what's happened. The only way you can make music cheaply is by doing it electronically with loops and on Ableton and all this stuff, because that's cheap or free. Well, it's relative, you have to buy the software. So that's why you've got...
There's so much of that stuff floating
That's
around.
why you've got all these records out there that sound like robots and machines, right? That's what we're listening to. That's what the world's listening to now. That's the new music. And because that's what's affordable. To actually take a really good band who can really play, who have really cool ideas, and who are actually doing something inventive and creative and different, into a half-decent studio costs money. And it costs more money than I have or musicians have. Mm-hmm. And you need people to sponsor that. And Spotify are not paying for those records to be made. Apple are not paying for those records to be made.
It's very bizarre. I'm hoping very soon that there's a Spotify Records or something, and it starts trickling down. They have a hip hop one, and then a few subsidiaries under that, and it starts to get out there for people. They're gonna have to, aren't they?
Well, I hope so.
So do
It depends what's motivated them. I mean, if they're really motivated by money, which is what I think they are.
Yeah,
the people at the top.
Yeah, if it's not about the artistry or the music at all, then why would they bother?
I mean, I just don't think they get it. I actually think if I could sit down with one of these people at the top and just have a very intelligent conversation about what has happened, then they might do something. But I don't think the people they're surrounded with up there are the people who made real music. By real music, I mean, more human beings playing the instruments with their hands versus machines being programmed to make music. And that's, I mean, there's some great electronic music. I love it, I'm not dissing that music at all.
I hear you.
But I'm just saying that the reason we're hearing less and less organic music, like inventive, creative. I'm not talking about regurgitated stuff, right? Rock stuff that sounds like old rock stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about new music played by human beings with their hands.
Yes.
Right? That's what suffered.
That's my favourite type of music.
Well, I think it's most people. I think it's, at the end of the day, I think it's most people's.
I know. Yeah, another friend I listened to was doing a podcast with some producers, and they're just saying the main thing is there's just why a lot of it sounds so flat and flaccid is there's no air in anything, because there's no microphones. It's all just soft synth. Everything's just direct into the computer. Yeah. So you miss that. Yeah, just
there's no depth.
Yeah.
But there's no depth of feeling as well, is the problem. I mean, there's, again, going back to methods of recording, when you've record a bunch of really interesting musicians in a room together playing off each other, it creates a mood and a feeling. And that mood and feeling is you capture it and it comes out of your speakers. So you can have all kinds of, thousands or hopefully millions of people out there in their own little situations, in their own living rooms, listening to their records. And they feel the emotion coming through the speakers that was in that room of those 4, 5, 6 musicians who are feeding off each other. That to me is the best music, is the strongest music. And I often say to people, I get asked a lot about making records and what microphone do you use on this and what equipment and blah blah blah. And I go, look, it's not about that. If we're talking about engineering, sure, I'll get all geeky and tell you that stuff. Yeah. But if we're talking about music and making music that affects people, that people like, it's all about the mood and the emotion and the feeling. And that, in order to capture that properly, you've got to go into the recording studio that in mind. You know what I mean? So it actually doesn't matter what mic you're using, what this blah 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 blah, but you've just got to make sure you've got a mic that will capture that feeling. you know. So it could be, you want it to distort because you want some, you know, anger or some anarchy, let's say. You want some anarchy in it.
Yeah.
Well, then you're going to pick those type of environments and the right room and to make it sound like it has some anarchy to it. So, you know, records, the best record making I've done has been when I'm capturing emotions and I'm going for that.
Yeah.
I did make the first records I made, so when I started actually recording and record producing, let's say, or like being hired to produce records, was 1981 really.
What's that one?
So I made a whole bunch of records in 1 year, and they were the Flowers of Romance album with Public Image. I did a kind of EP with the Gang of Four called To Hell With Poverty. I did Release the Bats with The Birthday Party. I did an album called The Dreaming with Kate Bush. I recorded it. And what else? Worked with The Slits. I did an album with Killing Joke. I think I did all of this in 1 year. It's pretty
It's a good
crazy.
hit list.
Well, it's what made it all happen for me, is that that happened. You know, I don't know how the universe helped me make that happen, but it happened. But I didn't know, right? I was 21. I didn't know what I was doing technically. I was just going for it, you know. I was just like, I knew all these artists. I'd seen them all live. And I knew what I loved about them and what I wanted the record to have. And I made that come out of the speakers. So that's what I did. I didn't have any I had very little technical knowledge.
Yeah.
I'd hardly worked in a studio for that long. So I then progressively learnt more about how to record things, but I also learnt how to produce, like as in, you know, I learnt a little bit about music and structure and started analysing things, you know. And I made some of the worst records. I mean, they're just all, I think they're not good. The more I learnt and the more I got into that, the less the records were good.
Okay.
So I'm talking about late 80s. And because it all became, you know, and I think most people did this. You get so obsessed with equipment and techniques and, oh, did you hear so-and-so did that with this? And you try it and, you know, like it's, I don't know, basically the more I learnt how to do things properly, the worse the records got. And then I had 2 kids, and, you know, took a bit of time off. I didn't stop, but it was like a bit of a break. And then I moved from London to Australia. And I kind of, for a minute there, was very lost as far as making records. I mean, I'd already made a lot of records, but, you know, and it was, but then it all came back again. And I just started approaching it differently. And I worked with a really, really young band called Silverchair, who were 14, 15.
Did you do the first record with
I
them?
did. Well, a friend of mine called Robert Hambling, actually, he found them.
Right.
He's one of my best friends. He's a filmmaker, and he discovered them. He was working for a music program that was on SBS. Is that it?
Yeah, SBS. Yeah.
SBS, late night SBS. Back then, in I suppose it's early 2000s, was it? I don't remember.
Silverchair would be far out 90s.
Yeah, in the 90s. Okay, yeah. So he basically discovered them, thought they were great, played me their demos. This is before meeting them, and I was like, amazing songs, great voice. So he was part of a team that worked for this music program. So the team of maybe 4 or 5 people had to choose. They had a competition, and they had to choose the winner out of these demos that were sent in. So he chose them, and asked my opinion. I said them, and he went back to the people and said, I choose this band as the winner, and my friend Nick Launay also listened to them, and he thinks they're amazing. So then it became like, okay, well, will Nick be part of the prize to record them? And I said, absolutely, yes, I'll do that. And unfortunately, by the time the whole thing came together, I had to be in America.
Right.
So I didn't do it, that song, although I did send in my... So they had 4 songs, and the best song was this song called Tomorrow.
Another song?
But it wasn't arranged that way, and it was long. And so me and Robert were like listening. I said, well, look, just take that bit there. I wrote down the structure, and I rearranged it on paper. And I said, that's probably a better way of doing it. And it made no sense to him. So I took their song and I just chopped it up on tape and stuck it back together. I had a Revox, because this was before Pro Tools and all that. And basically gave it to Robert, and Robert then played it to them, and they played it that way. And they went into Triple J, because part of the prize was that they would be recorded by Triple J in their studios, and the idea was I was going to go in there and do it. So I was already in Chicago working with an American band, and so they went in with Phil McKellar, I think it was,
right? I'm not.
Or Paul McKercher. I always get those two. They're both fantastic.
I don't know them.
Jesus,
PM.
Do some research. Whichever one
do the
works
research.
For the Triple J guy, he's credited on the record.
Yeah.
And he did an amazing job. I mean, so they put that song out, right, Tomorrow, on Triple J.
Very well.
They played it, they got signed. So I'm flying back from Chicago, like 3 months later, 2 months later. I'm on Qantas, and I put the headphones on, and in comes this song, that guitar part, and I'm like, what is this? I know this. And I was like, is it a record I made? It's so familiar to me. Why do I know this? I'm looking it up, and it says Silverchair. And I'm like, who is Silverchair? Because they were called Innocent Criminals.
Ah, that's right. Yes.
So I get back. I get met at the airport by Nadia, my wife, and kids, and I'm like, do you know this band Silverchair? And both my kids, oh yeah, they're great. They're this band, and they're like these 3 surfy kids, and blah 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 blah, and they're like teenagers, and it's amazing. And I'm like, oh my God, I know what this is. Of course. So I missed out on the first album.
You did one later on, though.
But I did the second and third.
Yeah.
Second, third, and fifth. But yeah, it was kind of like very frustrating at the time, because
Is there a sort of ethic for you for music, like something that you always want to make sure is done, or?
Honestly, I just want the music to affect people. The more the better.
Yeah.
That's what when I'm making the records and I'm mixing them and I'm thinking about how this works with this, and which bit goes into how all I'm thinking about is how it's going to affect people.
Yeah. Okay.
That's it. I'm just thinking of like, when this comes on the radio, how's it going to make the people feel? That's it. That's number one.
And what's the sort of importance of music in general, do you think, to...
Well, I find there are people out there, apparently, who don't listen to music. And I just think that they must be the most unhappy people on earth. Probably the least imaginative people. I mean, I can't even imagine what it's like to not listen to music. But there are people out there. So
I don't know if I believe it. They must.
Politicians, I think. I think that's what they're called. I think,
Yes.
I mean, certainly when you're a teenager, that's when music starts really making a difference, and your whole life revolves around it. I mean, I don't know. I think most people are probably the same. When you're feeling down about something, you put a song on. It changes you.
Yeah.
Well, if you're listening to the right music, it does.
Yeah, no, of course, that's what it was definitely like as a teenager.
Yeah.
That hasn't gone away. There are still those songs that have that ability, depending on the mood.
I mean, I think that's what music. If you get into the science of notes and frequencies, which are the same thing, by the way, it's very interesting. I can tell you a lovely story.
Please.
This could be a very long story that involves Australian immigration, but I'll keep that bit to the shortest. Basically, I moved to Australia with Australian wife, 2 kids, both born in Australia. I'm living in my house in Australia. It's the only house I own in Australia at the time. It's the only house I own in the world is in Sydney, and I realised that I'm filling in my application for residency for Australia because I was in there on a working visa, and I'm filling it out, and it says, "Where are you?" I'm in Sydney. What visa are you here under? And I go, blah, 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 number, blah, blah, blah. When does it expire? Oh, shit. It expired last week. So I'm basically, I'm a week over. Okay, so I ring up Australian immigration. They say, yeah, no worries, mate. Just come into our office. We'll sort you right out. So I go there the next day, and they say, well, I'm afraid you're in the country illegally. You're going to have to leave immediately. So I basically get kicked out of Australia. And I go home first. They didn't take me straight to the airport, thank God. I went home, and I was allowed, I think, 12 hours to get out. So I'm like, what? This is stupid. It's a piece of paper, What the closest country I can go to sort out my paperwork is New Zealand. So, so I was like, well, who do I know in New Zealand? Maybe I can stay at someone's house, or I'll get a hotel. But so I ring my friend Bones, who's the bass player from Midnight Oil, who's from New Zealand, and he goes, mate, I haven't got a place over there anymore, but you should stay at Neil's place. I go, well, I know Neil. Talking about Neil Finn.
Yeah.
I know Neil. I don't know him well enough to say, can I come and stay at your place? He says, oh, I'll call him. I'll call you right back. Clunk. And next minute I know, Neil calls me. And he says, oh, I've heard about your predicament. Absolutely, come over. What a lovely guy.
Oh, Neil.
So basically I fly over there, and he says, actually, you can help me with something. Because I'm having a bit of a hard time. I'm in the studio at the moment with this Maori princess called Emma Paki.
Okay.
And I'm having a hard time doing it. She's great live, and she sings. She's got a beautiful voice, but somehow in the studio it's not working. Things are difficult. But and he says, I'm not a record producer. You're a record producer. Maybe you can come in? I said, absolutely. We go down there, stay at his lovely house, go into the studio, and so they haven't really done much. So it's like, okay, so I take over, let's say, the production role, and I'm doing my thing, little bit of arrangement change, but basically, mic'd it all up in a different way, and off we go, we're recording. And, it's pretty good, not great takes. She was definitely a bit not singing great, I thought, compared to what I could imagine. Beautiful sounding voice, but it was just a bit, there was something about it wasn't great, it was all right.
Yes.
But it was the best we could do. Okay, so we've got the track. the backing track, and with her vocal on it, and we go to overdub this big drum, like a Maori kind of huge thing, right? I don't know what it's called, what they call them, but it's like, I have this image of you hit it and you summon up the warriors,
Yes.
to go and
Yes.
go and do what they do, eat people. No, they don't eat people. Anyway, you know what I mean. So there's this guy out there is going boom, 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 just getting the sound. That's all that's going on. Emma is out in her vocal booth. She hasn't come in. She's still there with her headphones on. She starts singing the song, okay, the lyrics. Absolutely mind-blowingly beautiful. It's just, her singing was so, I mean, just beautiful. It was the thing that you want. So I quickly put the tape machine in record. This is analog, not Pro Tools, analog. I put a new piece of tape up. I've taken the recording we've done off, and I say nothing, except I talk to the drummer who's out there, and I said, without her hearing it, and I said, just keep going, don't stop. So we're recording this big drum, and she's singing, and we get the whole song, but we haven't got the beginning. So I say to the drummer, I said, can you just give me a bit more sound, please? I'm just trying to get the sound. And he knows what's up. And I said, Emma, that was beautiful. He's singing. What are the first lyrics? And he goes, boom, boom, boom. She sings it, right? So she doesn't know that we're recording. So I get the beginning of the song. I edit the two together. We've got the whole song to a drum. And Neil's looking at me going, this is amazing, but what are we doing? How are we going to put that on our recording that we've got? And I go, forget that recording. This is what it's all about. I said, Neil, it'll take us 2 hours to overdub onto this, and we've got the vocal. He said, oh yeah, okay, I get it. So we got it. So we start recording, first of all, his guitar part, right? And she's singing not in, so most recordings that have been from the beginning of rock and roll onwards, let's say, are all at 440.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the standard tuning.
Yep.
And people don't really, you get your tuner that you buy at Guitar Center or...
But she was singing a cappella to the drums, was she?
She was singing to the drum.
So
now we're presuming that she's pitching her voice to the drum, right?
Yeah.
And it's a little bit sharp.
Yep.
It's a bit higher. So therefore his guitar sounds out of tune to her vocal. So I go, okay, so we can either tune the guitar up, or we can vary speed the song down. Okay? So he goes, don't worry, I'll retune to her. So Neil being Neil, he does that. So we do it. And then we basically recorded lots of other instruments at this higher pitch. And this is the craziest thing. We had a Mellotron keyboard.
Yep.
Right?
Mellotron.
Vintage things, and they're often
Little
not
wonky.
a bit wonky. So I go, okay, well I'll have to tune, because you can't tune them up, right? So I go, I'll vary speed the song down to the tuning of the Mellotron. That's the only way we can do it. So I'm in the vary speed, and I get it just right, and I look at it, and it says 0. So the Mellotron was out of tune to 440, but perfect to her pitch, which was just a complete fluke. There is no logic to this at all, right? Because the Mellotron should have been at 440, but somehow by travelling from England to New Zealand, or 30 years of wood and all that, and tape and all, the motor, I don't know, somehow it was sharp, so it was perfect. So that was weird, very weird. Neil commented, I've used this on, I always have to mess around to try and get it in tune, and it's perfectly in tune with her voice. What's going on? So he was like, wouldn't it be nice to have some bells on this, kind of like Prince, has a ching, ching, ching. So like, okay, we need a piece of metal. And there were two little candlesticks that were made out of metal. I go, what about them? And Neil picks them up and clinks them. And like, fucking hell, they're in tune. Okay, so that happened. Where this is like kind of magic stuff going on here. Neil's out there doing another guitar overdub. I feel this incredible presence in the room while we're doing this. I look over and there's this massive guy. He's, I think, 6'8" and probably 6 foot wide. I mean, he's like enormous. And he's standing there, very proud, Maori guy, and he's standing there and he's got this walking stick. And the walking stick is made out of greenstone, which is the Maori treasured thing. The song is called Greenstone. And it's about the power of greenstone. And he's standing there and he looks at me and I go, hi. And he says, I am a friend of Emma. I have come to bless the recording. Wow. And I said, oh, great, do come in. He said, I'm very, very, very happy to hear that you have chosen the resonance, the pitch of this song, the resonance of the earth, to record this song.
What's the resonance of the earth?
The tuning that she chose to sing in. The reason she couldn't sing and was not doing very well before was because she was tuned into the vibration of the earth, which is higher than 440. It's like, I don't know, 448 maybe, or...
Right.
Yeah. So I'm kind of a long way around going back to your question about this kind of stuff. So that's what he said. And Neil's going, what's going on in there? And I say, Neil, you've got to come in. And I had asked his name, so Neil comes in and met, and I said, Neil, he just told me that he's very pleased that we've recorded this song at the same resonance as the vibration of the earth. And Neil just looked at me and went, oh my God, this is absolutely incredible. So, it was just such a incredible thing. So this song called Greenstone comes out, is released by this unknown artist. She was unknown in New Zealand, goes to #1 in New Zealand. And it's a beautiful song. And Neil, I don't know if he still does, recorded many songs after that in that pitch.
Right. Okay.
And actually the Beatles did it quite a lot. We did some research and there's a lot of artists that have just came across the same discovery. It's really interesting.
I think, I've sort of heard about that, but I never bothered to do it because you got to get it right.
It really amazed me.
It's really difficult because everything's set at 440.
Well, you just have to. It's all right with guitars and basses, violins, all that. I mean, I think the story that I heard was that someone in Germany was the culprit that changed it.
Yeah, the bad guy from Germany. Yeah. That's what I heard.
That Hitler bloke?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Was it him?
He said it, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what someone told me as well.
Right.
Because my friend...
It's all his fault.
A good friend of mine's close with George Harrison's...
I thought you were going to say a friend of yours was close with Hitler.
No, with Danny Harrison.
I'm sure
George had said that...
I'm sure George Harrison recorded a lot of his... I wouldn't be surprised if that great record he made that was all very spiritual and...
It's all set to the earth, man.
I bet. I bet you that most instruments in India are tuned up there.
Go, how spiritual, religious are you with any of this stuff? Do you?
I'm not.
You live in LA, so you got to be spiritual, don't you?
Well, I'm definitely spiritual.
Yeah.
I'm definitely spiritual, but I don't chant I have chanted. I did go down that road a little bit, but that was more because the girl I was dating at the time did, and I got.
We
and
do
it was
chant
really
for women,
it was
don't
really
we?
interesting. It's really, really interesting. I mean, I can't say I believe or don't believe in all this stuff, but I absolutely do believe in the universe and the balance of the universe. I suppose that's it. The balance of the universe.
Yeah.
Everything seems to sort itself out, doesn't it?
How do you feel at the moment with things that are going on around the place?
Well, I think it's I think we've got incredible I think incredibly good things are going to happen
Okay.
after this, and hopefully it's sooner than later. But
There's your optimism.
well, it is, but I really believe it because I just think everything in my lifetime, everything has been like that. I mean, it doesn't matter what subject you pick. Pick any subject of anything at all, and you'll see that the negativity of it can only get so far before it swings the other way in the same amount.
Right on.
And it's, I mean, it's that yin and yang thing. I mean, I don't know anything about it. Look, I haven't, I've been to Bali, love Bali, but I haven't had time to really relax.
You've been too busy making records.
I've been too busy making beautiful music.
Yeah.
To make the world happy. That I can't say that I know anything about this stuff, but I do know. I mean, I just look at a really easy example. Here's a really good example. If you, with our brain and the way we are as humans, if you stimulate yourself, if you stimulate your brain with drugs that make you feel fantastic and euphoric, like
You got to feel shitty and calm down.
right. You if you do for mostly from what I've witnessed, 3 hours of absolute blissful mayhem on a drug, you then take 3 days of recovery to get back to normal. I mean, it's
And a few more
what's
sometimes.
that about?
Took me a long time to learn that.
I mean, that's everybody. I mean, even just drinking. Okay, so you drink,
yeah, of
you
course.
drink, you get drunk at night, you get really plastered and have a great time, but then the recovery. I mean, that's a very simple way of looking at this. If you're really mean to someone, there's repercussions to it. If you're really nice to someone, there are benefits to it. You get stuff back. It is that karma thing. There's no doubt. I mean, give it a name, call it karma, whatever you want to call it.
I'm with you, though,
But it's
sure.
like that. The universe is like that. I really think that there is a reason for that. I think that's why nature, the trees and it's all give and take, and this helps that, and it all. I mean, I guess I'm a bit of a hippie in that way, and I did grow up with very bohemian parents and all that. But it's just like you only have to just look around you. That's what it's like, And I just do think that with all this insane paranoia and evilness, that's really bad ideas that are being pushed forward by very powerful people. Obviously the obvious one is Trump. Is just doing awful. I mean, it's just fucking terrible what he's doing. His decision making is all money, mostly for him and his friends, and causing a lot of damage to the earth. And I don't think the earth will allow it. I think Mother Nature
had enough.
will, and the people that are on the side of Mother Nature will get power back. I'm not talking about the political thing really, but I just think generally it can't last. Something really catastrophic will happen, and I'm not talking about, obviously there's, it's possible that, climate related stuff could happen, but I don't think that's going to do it. I think it's going to be something else. I think something will happen whereby, these really bad people will get their karma, basically, and it will then all turn round. And I think when it does turn round, that the good stuff that will be done will be able to be done much better with less resistance. That's what I'm hoping for. Anyway, I mean, I'm really hoping that, like, I think, you know, if you're getting into details, like, I think the Republican Party in this country they're enjoying that they can get away with murder at the moment because of the distraction of Trump. But I think once they're not in anymore, it's going to be very hard for them to get back in, because they will look like such idiots. They will, you know, even the people that think that they're a good idea, I think will just go, that was a really awful period of time. There's a very, you know, I just don't think it can last.
You keep an eye on all this stuff?
I mean, I can't help it. I'm very interested.
Yeah.
I'm also, like, very entertained and amused by it, some of it. You know, it's kind of like, really? Is it really happening? It's unbelievable. But it's happening all over the world. It's not just here.
No,
I mean, the
of course
Brexit thing is possibly stupider.
Yeah.
You know?
You could be right.
You know, possibly.
It is
I mean,
all the same.
I find it more believable. I find it easier to understand and believe that half of America are of a mindset where they would vote a really blatantly bad person, or are conned by ignorance into voting him in, right?
Conned by ignorance, for sure.
Conned by a clever man,
Yeah.
or a manipulative
Yeah,
man.
we've been
So
through that
I
many
get
times
that.
before.
I get that's what's happened here. But the Brexit thing, I find it it's absolute stupidity. And maybe it's because I'm over here looking at it from a distance, and it's probably very easy to be in England and look at America from a distance and go, well, that's just stupid. But here, just take another vote. I mean, you know, this whole thing, oh, well, the people voted. Well, no, they didn't, actually. Most people, I think, didn't know what they were voting for, or didn't vote at all, and those who did were conned as well, right? It's such chaos.
I stay out of all of it.
Yeah, I do
and-
too. I'm not
even
getting
follow
into it, but
No,
I watch it.
Yeah, I don't even really watch it. I've
Yeah.
just gotten so...
Well, I have a lot of
stuck in-
friends who are very vocal about it, you know, and it's just like I listen to them and I go, wow, yeah, it's nuts. But anyway, but we carry on making music.
That's
But you know, just
kinda
going
where I
back to how I feel about the music business and the music, no, not the music business, the music industry at the moment. You know, everything musically that's being done. There's a lot of great music out there. People are still making great music despite lack of funds. And you know, people like myself are just trying to do our best by, you know, doing as much as we can at home. Basically, That's all we can do. Do it with laptops. Do it with that. That's all we can do. But am I angry, let's say, or am I upset by Spotify and the internet? No, because there's two sides to it. One is the music that I'm involved in making, because of the you know, the downloading and sharing and all that, means that millions and millions and millions of people are hearing the music that I'm making with the artists. Millions more than before. You know, like, it's staggering how many people are now listening to that music because they get it for free, and it's all over the world, and it's people who have no money are listening to that music and enjoying it. So that's the plus. The minus is that I struggle to pay my mortgage, right? and many others do.
Yes.
That's my minus. But the minus that is upsetting is that we don't have funds to make the great music. But you know, it's...
We've got to turn that around. That's the
well,
mission.
I don't know how to. I mean...
We need Spotify and Apple and them to start distributing some cash.
I think they're so far off it, though. I think their greed is, unfortunately...
There needs to just be other organisations with a lot of money who see a hole in a way that to make themselves look good by feeding the arts.
Yeah.
It could
Well, you know,
definitely happen, and
and
it does still happen. You know,
Yeah. I mean, there are some great people
Creative
out there
Victoria
doing
in
it. I mean,
Australia do a lot
the
of money.
guy, who's funding the label that I was involved with, right? His name's Mark Fennessy, and he's you know, just a fantastic person who loves music, and he you know, basically gave a lot of money to some artists that I work with to make their music so that I can make them. And
Very
that's
cool.
amazing, you know.
Yeah.
So there are all these good people out there and who want to do that.
Yeah, it's going to get into that old like patronage kind of
Yeah,
thing
I just
from-
think there's some confusion with the people at the top of the Spotify's. It's not just Spotify, but we'll use that name. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of confusion. They're in a bubble and they don't realise actually how hurtful what they've done is and how they could help.
Well, the funny thing was as well, I guess there was Tidal, right, which is Jay-Z and all their...
Right.
They started that one, and their whole thing was there's going to be more money for the artists.
Right.
But when you've got a whole bunch of the world's biggest, richest artists telling you that they want more money,
Yeah.
people don't go along with it.
Yeah.
So instead, all of us are still using Spotify and getting ripped off.
Well, the thing is that the Spotify people and the Apple people, they have the money.
Yeah.
They have our money. They have the money that should be in the artists' bank accounts so that they can make the records. It is theft. It's theft.
Yeah, that we let them do it.
Well, we didn't. The middleman did,
Yeah,
which was
I
the
know.
labels.
Yeah.
The labels, the top. The way I see it is that the top guys at all the labels who were elderly and had already had a great life and a great amount of success and lots of pats on the back, and they've all got their, you know, big houses and their big cars, and got paranoid. They at first ignored the fact that the internet had these capabilities. They were told this is what might happen, and they ignored. It got too late, and then they panicked. So they sold the rights to other people's music to allow it to happen. And that's where the big mistake happened.
And then you see all those old bands going back out on the road now.
Because they can make money out of live.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what we're doing now, is that unfortunately, from a funding point of view, whereas tours used to be there, the tours used to be done to promote the records because the record would make the money. Now, the record is the excuse for the band to go out and tour, and they make the money from touring. So none of the funds at all go back into the recording process. That's the problem. There's no... that's why all the studios are closing down. That's why a lot of great record producers are retiring early. That's the... Record producers, unfortunately, are at the absolute bottom of the chain of effects. We're all the top of it. I don't know what it is. We're the ones that have been really badly stepped on because we don't earn any money out of publishing.
Yeah.
You see.
Yeah, I think everything's going to need to change. All of the agreements.
I mean, you know, and I'm not depressed or screaming or shouting about this at all.
Yeah.
I'm just working out other ways of doing it. But that's what's going on.
Yeah, it's such a transitionary point at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where everyone is
Yep.
trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the reasons for doing this podcast is just
Right.
all of this, wanting to get everyone's take on all of it.
Yeah.
Hey, well, thanks so much to Nick Launay. What a pleasure that was to get to spend those few hours with him and pick his brains and hear him chat and hear all those cool stories. I feel like I learned a lot from my chat with him, a lot of new production ideas and ways to approach creating and recording music. I really like what he was saying about trying to capture emotions and get an emotional response from listeners. So I found it fascinating when he was talking about the more he focused on the technical side of things and learning more about music production, the worse his records got for a period there. it's always been fascinating to me, interesting to me, that how, you don't want things to become clinical or done technically the right way, because you can really lose the magic of a piece of music if you do that. But then also, it's something I've struggled with, because I do like to control things and turn them into a piece of music, and they have to have some structure at some point. It's just trying to keep that balance of spontaneity while maintaining, some structure and some order at the same time. It was great to hear his opinion on that. Thanks, Nick, for the words of wisdom and the advice there. If you haven't, checked out the Anna Calvi record he mentioned called Hunter, which came out last year. There's also the new Shakespeare's Sister single, All the Queen's Horses, which I really dig. That one's awesome. There's the Bitcha Duper album, Aiming for Your Head, which I still love and think is the winner. There are all those Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds records. So much stuff that Nick Launay has been involved with. So keep your eye out for his work and his name. He's everywhere. Hey, I think that'll do us right on. Thanks so much for tuning in. Always a pleasure to have you and make these episodes for you. Going to be back soon with more people, I think. Bee's Knees, the Cat's PJs, all that. So until then, take care. See you soon.